This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. He goes to Gibbs wide. Edge of the box. Foley. Yes! Great goal! What a hit from Oliver! Gibbs wide! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead through Morgan Gibbs White. Oh, and he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Hello and welcome to this latest edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to discuss the Forest perspective preview on the Brighton game. Joining me as ever is Lee Clark. Lee, how are you first of all?
Yeah, I'm very good. Still on cloud nine from the weekend.
Have you been giving anyone any stick back at work? Obviously, I know you work from home largely, so probably difficult, but there must be someone.
Yeah, the guy who runs our Liverpool website is okay, to be fair. And the scouser who I lived with at uni is actually one of the reasonable Liverpool fans. It was funny because obviously I was away on Saturday night. I was on a stag do. I wasn't really going through socials quite so thoroughly, and I did find something when I was just on my lunch on Monday. I was just flicking through social media, and Facebook has this thing where it shows you things that happened 2 or 3 days ago. And a Liverpool fan had tagged himself on the train, saying that he was looking forward to beating the tricky trees. That was his expression. The tricky trees very comfortably this afternoon. So I just popped on the words, "Oh no." So yeah, that made me feel quite fuzzy inside. But yeah, it's a strange one because I know that there is a fierce rivalry. I know Reece has said before that he hates everything to do with Liverpool and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, the ones I actually know quite well are okay. So I felt a bit bad going to town certainly on Twitter, because there was some real horrible ones when we got skanked in, was it March when we played them home? Yeah, I was desperate to go through my bookmarks, but we'll live in the moment, eh? I
mean, Arne Slot's, I think, done pretty majority of the bemoaning of it anyway, because he's like, oh, if losing to Forest at home, that's a problem. Like, core blimey, like, I mean, you've come from playing, like, I think his Christian wrote it out, like, go ahead Eagles and Pek Zwal and whatnot. Like, you've come into the Premier League, mate, where, like, people are going to play a lot different, especially against the bigger sides. Do you know what I mean? Like, just made me laugh, really.
Yeah, I mean, they've just beat Milan in the Champions League, and he's still talking about Forest. I mean, I tell you, we're not a Liverpool podcast, but the worry that I would have as a Liverpool fan listening to Slot in the aftermath of losing to us, they're going to play better teams than us. And we've basically given every single team a blueprint on how to beat them at Anfield now. So, I mean, like Christian's probably alluded to, he's not coming up against PC's Zwolle anymore and go-ahead Eagles. He's coming up against sides that are going to have a game plan. It won't always work, and Liverpool will get some big wins still. But, you know, this is a competitive league, and it's, you know, I always hate the expression Farmers League because it's a bit disrespectful to the players playing in that league and the coaches coaching in it. But it is a much inferior league than the Premier League, and perhaps he's going to get a few rude awakenings this season.
Do you think that kind of reveals our hand a little bit, though, because of the result? Like, now teams like, I'd say, you got to look at the bigger six. So like Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United. Man United to an extent, I think we probably should be a bit more expressive against Man United, to be honest. But like City, I know we've not really got the upper hand against City, but those sort of teams are going to look at that game against Liverpool and go, well, we know how Forest are probably going to play. Like, this is how we're going to have to maybe change something a little bit different ourselves to keep them teams guessing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm torn on that one. I think to a certain degree it does. Obviously, we've shown what we're going to do if we play a better side, it would seem, in terms of packing the team with central midfielders, basically. But on the flip side, it's still up to them teams to break us down again. Obviously, sometimes it's not going to work. I mean, but for striking in the post, we'd have fallen behind in the first half on Saturday, wouldn't we? So there's going to be moments when little mistakes do lead to goals, and then we've got to come from behind. But no, I just think it's one of those things. I think that's football. Yeah, we have given a little indication to the bigger sides how we're potentially going to play, but I think Nuno will. I don't know. I think he's just proved himself to be tactically astute enough to kind of keep mixing it up, and we have got the players now to drop the odd winger in and just rotate little tweaks when we do play these bigger sides. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about it from our perspective.
Yeah, let's recap a Liverpool, because why not? It's fun and everyone wants to hear about it. I mean, I've not stopped watching Callum Hudson-Odoi's goal. The Forest official Twitter account, I think, on probably all their social medias, put that video out where it's like all angles of the goal, and like that twang off the post and hitting like the camera behind the goal is literally like so aesthetically pleasing. And then obviously the away end going a bit mental is lovely. But obviously you watched it maybe a day later after your stag do and after the shenanigans of what you had to put up with. What did you make of the game overall?
I thought it was a performance that I don't know. I just didn't see it. I didn't think we were capable of that sort of performance. And I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to Nuno or the players. I just genuinely felt that we'd come up against the Liverpool side who was still very similar to a Jurgen Klopp kind of mentality at home. Yeah, they're not quite as heavy metal as Klopp, but I still expect them to have lots of chances, and I expected us to be clinging on. I mean, in some respects, it was quite funny not having to have the drama of sitting and watching it live, as probably pessimistic as that sounds as a fan, because I think I'd have just been tearing my hair out at that kind of sort of, I don't know, just watching such a meticulous defensive and organised, structured display. So yeah, it was just nice to kind of be sat chilling and chatting with some friends and looking at Soccer Saturday every now and again. Oh, it's still 0-0. But yeah, I thought it was such a good performance. Probably, I mean, some people are calling it our best away win in the Prem ever. It probably is. It's definitely up there. I know we've won at Old Trafford before, haven't we? But certainly for fans of my age, it's definitely our best win in the Premier League era away from home. But yeah, we just set up so well. We had a game plan. It worked to a T. Really surprised with how they played. Just didn't. I mean, all this talk of the international break stuff is nonsense. I mean, I keep little bits of different podcasts keep popping up, and someone actually said this morning that Forest didn't have that many players who went off on international duty. Just the 13, which is 2 more than you need for an actual team. So some research is required in some parts. But yeah, it was just such a vintage performance. It was absolutely brilliant. I can't really remember. I've rambled on a bit there. I can't remember if you had an actual question or whether you just asked me what I thought of the game.
Just asked you what I thought of the game, to be honest. But obviously, you managed to rewatch it. I haven't. I've just watched obviously highlights and whatever else. But who kind of caught your eye in the game? Obviously, we mentioned pretty much every player, I think, at the weekend. I think the only one that you'd say that didn't have like a huge impact is probably Chris Wood and maybe Morgan Gibbs-White to an extent, but they're getting asked to do completely different jobs than you would like them to when we play against a side where we have more of the ball, so we are going to create more opportunities. But yeah, who would you say really shone for you?
I think I'd go for Moreno for me, with Milenkovic close second. But I think Moreno's task to keep Salah quiet when he's been at a club where he's not played loads of football. He's not played for us in the Premier League. I just thought it was such a really good performance from him. I mean, Salah was rubbish. I mean, he was absolutely awful. Again, the Liverpool supporting pundits have said that's because he went to Egypt and Botswana to play during the international break. It wasn't. It was because Alex Moreno just did a job on him. His assignment was to keep him quiet, keep him off the ball as much as possible, and he did it to a T. So yeah, he looks a very good signing already.
And we'll get into this a little bit later, but massive headache for Nuno now with team selection and everything else. But I guess because it was such a different game where he had an obvious plan, maybe it's not such a headache. I really don't know. It's a difficult job for him, but I'm glad I'm not doing it.
I actually don't think it's such a difficult one in the sense that we're playing another informed side next. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, we'll come on to what me and you think he'll go with, or what we'd go with, I suppose, this Sunday. But I actually think on the basis that we're playing another team that's unbeaten, 2 wins and 2 draws like us, I just think it might make it a little bit easier for him this week, because I think he'd have no qualms with saying, look, it worked last week, let's try and rinse and repeat this week.
Yeah, so obviously Brighton on Sunday at the Amex, their last game they drew 0-0 with Ipswich, 0-0 surprisingly, after they dominated much of the game by the looks of it. What threat do you think Brighton pose?
I mean, it's the 2 wingers for me. I think there's so much pace out wide with Brighton. They've got Minte on one side and
Mitoma.
Mitoma, yeah, I forgot his name for a second. So yeah, that's the obvious danger zones. But like I've just said, I mean, both fullbacks were well worthy of a place in Alan Shearer's team of the week this week. So not that any Forest player was worthy of a place in Troy Deeney's team of the week.
That was the biggest shock.
I can't think why he got sacked by Forest Green after 29 days. I mean, you'd like to think that someone who's ghosting that article for him at the BBC would say, "Are you sure you're not going to put any Forest players in after winning at Anfield?" But we digress. So yeah, I think that's the obvious threats. But with the fullbacks we've got at the moment, I would imagine it's going to be the same defensive unit. So yeah, hopefully they can have another performance that lives long in the memory.
I mean, I think the biggest shock for me that Troy Deeney team of the week was he's put Van Hecker at left back, who plays centre half, and then still not chose Moreno, which I mean, bamboozled me. But yeah, like I think he's got enough stick on social media, including from myself. So yeah, Brighton I think is equal. I think I'm kind of on the same wavelength with you. I think João Pedro, if he's back as well, I mean, he always seems to be a bit of a thorn in our midst. So I think he scored last season in the game at the City Ground. Amazing header, I think, and then I think he scored a penalty as well, which is annoying because we never get penalties. I think we had our only penalty last season was against Brighton, coincidentally, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
we're due one soon. After the weekend, Lee, how hard is it to not get carried away? Because obviously the fan base's expectation now is obviously naturally going to go up. We've gone to beating one of the best sides in Europe away. People are probably going to go to Brighton and go, well, this will be easy, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to my usual mantra. At this stage of the season, you can't afford to get too high with the highs and too low with the lows. Yeah, it's great. I mean, let's milk this Liverpool win for all we can until it comes to facing Brighton on Sunday. But I think you've only got to look towards last season. We beat Chelsea around a similar stage. And then I think we won once in 2 months. We can't afford to let that happen. I think we spoke about it offline. I think where it's going to be different this year is we've kind of got a settled side. We've certainly got better quality in the squad. Nuno's had a bit longer with this group than probably Cooper had with that group 12 months ago. So, yeah, I do think we've got to err on the side of caution a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to get carried away after beating Liverpool at Anfield, then you may as well sack football off as a bad job and, I don't know, go and watch a different sport, I suppose.
I mean, I think the great thing is, obviously, after the first 2 games we've drawn at home and then beating Southampton, I kind of think, especially like amongst our group, I think there was a little bit of like, have we missed an opportunity there to at least not be on 7 points? Because we was going into that Liverpool game pretty much admitting defeat before even a ball being kicked, which I think is quite normal because we've struggled away every time at Anfield. We're not beating them since 1969. Obviously, we changed all that on Saturday. So now we've gone into this Brighton game kind of like, well, if we lose, it's not like the end of the world, is it?
No, it's not. And I think that's the beauty of it. I think it's an old Colin Frey cliche from years ago. I remember him saying it kind of made loads of sense. I think it might have been when Pearce was manager and we'd had some good results to start with and then some really drab ones against teams that we probably should be doing better. I think if you throw all the results into the air and they come back down in a different order, so you've got a draw at Liverpool, for example, and a win in one of the home games, you'd probably say, yeah, we're doing okay, but we need to go to Brighton and try and put on a bit of a show. Whereas now we've won at Liverpool, it's not a free hit because it's the Premier League and it's never a free hit. The quicker we can get to sort of 30, 40 points, the better. So yeah, I think the confidence will be sky high. It'll be the sort of game that fans will now, I don't know, there won't be the not that Forest away fans are ever like this, but there won't be that anxiety from the away end, I don't think, anymore, where there's moaning and groaning. They'll stay with the team for 90 minutes. And yeah, I think that only bodes well. I don't want to say free hit because it's not, but if you'd say 3 points from Brighton and Liverpool, come on, before a ball was kicked last Saturday, we'd have all taken that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, completely. And I think Tom really summed it up well on Sunday when we did the review for the Liverpool game about Nuno and how much he's now probably earned that trust from the supporters. I think that kind of goes into this one now where people are going to go, well, it doesn't matter what team he picks. We'll go, well, I think he's now fully won the fan base over. I think I'd struggle to find someone maybe on the timeline that's still pining for Steve Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we can't keep doing that. It's just, that's gone. It's a chapter of the club that we can look back on with some fondness, certainly getting us back to the Premier League. But let's be brutally honest about it. He was often found wanting in the Premier League. And I don't just mean with the results, because he was dealt some pretty harsh cards with the excessive amount of players in the first season, the injuries as well. And he still managed to keep us up. Again, he deserves credit for that. But I just think when it came to making tactical tweaks, in-game changes, and I know people will be, putting messages on saying, "Oh well, we've slagged Nuno's changes off." We have, but I think they've been fewer than when Cooper just had little ability to change a game. I thought from the bench, and at the Premier, at this level where we want to be in the Premier League, I think that's got to be a mandatory requirement. And thankfully, it looks like Nuno is. I mean, you think about Saturday. Saturday sums it up nicely. To be fair. With half an hour to go, with 0-0 at Liverpool, what would Cooper have done? I think he'd have put another centre-back on and probably another midfielder. Nuno looked at his bench and thought, right, I'm going for it now. I'm putting my speedy wingers on, my match winners, and I'm going to give Liverpool something to think about. If we'd have lost that game, I actually think there'd been lots of fans who would have still given him credit, because I think it was a very bold decision to unleash them both with the score still 0-0. So, yeah, I think in that one game, like you just said, he probably has. Those that were still sceptical probably aren't anymore, I don't think.
I think what he did brilliantly was react to how Liverpool changed their team. They brought on Conor Bradley to then obviously put Trent into midfield. And I think he just maybe thought there's a hole to expose there. There's a gap there, because I think Trent wasn't willing to track back and support Conor Bradley in that 1v1. You look at the break, there's no one near Conor Bradley to even help him at all. Whereas we've got like a 3-3-3 or a 4-3-3, I think it is, and we completely overload. And then Morgan Gibbs-White's obviously takes Kanate away for a split second to give Hudson-Odoi that yard of space and then bend it around him. And I mean, it's an absolute terrific finish. But yeah, I agree with you there. Then even brought in then Jota Silva on at the end for Gibbs-White, and he's an attacking option as well. I know he's good at his defensive duty at the moment, from what we've seen. Very little of Jota Silva, but he does help out, and he did his job on Saturday. And I think he's even starting to give food for thought for when he gets a first start. And I don't think he's that far away, but it's going to be interesting on Saturday. I do think like there is a little bit of pressure on Nuno to maybe be a little bit more adventurous against Brighton, but I think at the same time there are going to be Forest fans who have got that in the back of their mind, where Brighton have started well. They've not really changed too much in terms of their system. They still like to keep the ball. It's still high press. So there are things to worry about from them. But at the same time, we shouldn't fear anyone really anymore until we play Man City or Arsenal, potentially.
No, definitely not. I think the Brighton result that they've just had as well probably is a little bit flawed. Yeah, it was 0-0, but I think Muric made 7 saves.
He had a man of the match performance from what Joe said.
Man of the match performance. He still didn't make the Troy Deeney team of the week either with 7 saves, but that's the last I'll mention on Troy Deeney's team of the week. But yeah, so I think it was a little bit flawed. I think if they play that game and it pans out exactly the same with exactly the same chances, another week they probably win comfortably 2 or 3-0, if not more. So we've still got to be wary. They're still a good side. But yeah, we've certainly got nobody to fear. I think that's got to be the kind of the bar's set now. If we can go to Liverpool and win, then we can compete against any team in this league, like you say, with maybe the exception of Arsenal and Man City away.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next couple of questions all kind of merge into one and probably merge into like what our teams are going to be. So I'm going to put up your team first of all and read it out for the audio listeners. So Lee's gone for Matt Sells in goal. This is a 4-2-3-1 formation, I should add as well. So Matt Sells in goal, Olarena, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno, which so unchanged from Saturday's win. Ryan Yates partnering James Ward-Prowse in central midfield with Elliot Anderson out on the right-hand side, Morgan Gibbs-White behind the striker, Elanga on the left, and Chris Wood up front. Lee, so let's just a few things I want to talk about. So you're reverting back to the 4-2-3-1. On Saturday, it was more of like a 4-4-1-1. We really compacted midfield, which obviously forced Liverpool to go out wide and go, well, you try and cross the ball in the box when we've got a big Serbian bloke in there just heading everything away. What's your thinking behind this team?
So I didn't. My thinking really was that I don't actually think Nuno will make any changes. I think he'll go with exactly the same for the reasons you've just said. I think it gives us a little bit more solidity with those four central midfielders. But I just think that from listening to the pod with the Brighton fan, I think they're going to play quite high. So I think we need a little bit of pace. And I just think Elanga's got that little bit extra burst of pace than Hudson-Odoi, which might sound harsh because he's just scored the winner at Liverpool. But I'd go with him just so that if we can break quickly, he can do his kind of stuff and link up with whoever else is up there and get us moving up there a little bit quicker. I thought he did that really well last year against Newcastle in the win on Boxing Day. So that was my thinking. And I just think as well with their two wingers, a bit of extra pace going back as well. If we can give Elanga kind of a remit to, right, when we haven't got the ball, do some serious getting back. So yeah, but I was, like I say, I was reluctant to really make any because it just sounded harsh. What's not helped is that someone who stepped off the bench, two players who stepped off the bench combined for the winner. So yeah, I just went with those little tweaks, but I don't actually anticipate that Nuno will make these. To be honest, that's just what I would go with.
Because I think the biggest shock was not that we went really like defensive minded for 60 minutes. I think it was the inclusion of Nicolas Dominguez. But I think what he offers, and people forget, is his pressing ability. I think Reece mentioned it on Sunday where they were on the edge of our box and Dominguez's press basically forced them back to the halfway line. And I kind of tend to agree with that. He's definitely got the skill set to be included in certain games for certain moments, but we also need to remember that actually he is a very good footballer on his day. And yeah, you're right. Like maybe he doesn't lose his place, but also I can see you're thinking of Elanga. I thought Chris Wood was really isolated on Saturday, but I do expect him to get more involved in this game. Was you not tempted to maybe start a Wunyi?
No, not really. Not against these, I don't think. I don't really know why. I don't sense this being the game away from home where Awoniyi comes in and tries to get his fitness up a little bit. But yeah, I guess there is going to come a time where he's going to start a game because we could do with it getting him a little bit sharper and a little bit fitter. But yeah, I just don't see it being this one. I genuinely, actually, I'm at the stage where I'm not convinced that Nuno is overly sure on Awoniyi. I think he's had plenty of times to kind of rotate his strikers, but he just likes Wood. And I know Wood keeps scoring, but Awoniyi, you look at it, if he's fully fit, you would probably say he's the one that people would consider as the number one striker. But at the minute, Wood's undroppable. So yeah, I just don't think Nuno fancies him all that much, to be honest. And I would expect that in the coming transfer windows, I mean, we wanted a striker in the summer, didn't we? So I do expect we'll get another one. And then it will be really interesting to see what actually happens with Awoniyi.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a pivotal moment in his career, I would say, actually, like maybe on the tipping edge of what happens, because he's been unable to prove his fitness, unfortunately. And we know what he can do when he is fit, which is really annoying. Like, I think the goal against West Ham at home, which was under Nuno, I thought like really summed him up really well, being able to turn his man and slot away. And we've just not really seen enough of that, unfortunately. But James Ward-Prowse, I'm happy to see him stay in. What did I don't actually ask about what you thought about him against Liverpool, because I thought he was quietly unbelievable.
Yeah, agree. Unbelievable was the word I was going to use even before you said it. Everything that I expected he would be. I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised that he came in and did it against a team like Liverpool. I don't know why. I just thought because he's not really played much this season. I just thought that he might have a little bit of ring rust. but that is everything that I expected we'd get from a player who's played nearly 400 times in the Premier League and 11 times for his country. I think people have to be kind of not patient, that's not the right word, but kind of understanding of what his role in the team is. I don't think he'll ever be the sort of player that in open play is pinging things 20, 30, 40 yards all the time. I think you've got to know your capabilities in that central midfield area. And I think over the years, certainly since we've been a Premier League club, that's something that Ryan Yates has been really good at, understanding what he's capable of doing rather than what he's not, keeping it simple, that sort of stuff. And I just think, obviously, he's going to be in there for his set pieces. I think when you've got a player like that, you have him in there for his set pieces. But I do think Ward-Prowse is going to be very good at knowing when to make the easy 5-yard pass and when to maybe open up and try something that's a little bit more ambitious.
I think what I really realised about him, because I not watched loads of James Ward-Prowse at Southampton or West Ham, was how defensively capable he is. His positioning was exceptional, and like we've been crying out, I think, since we've got promoted for someone of his ilk and experience, and I think it just really showed. Like he's so crisp at passing. He's like he does a golf celebration, but his right foot is like a putter when he passes. I'm not like, honestly, there was times when he was just passing like a 5 to 10 yard, maybe 15-yard pass on the floor, and it was like a putter going straight into the path of a player. And I was like mesmerized, and like just how he controlled things when we had possession at the back as well, like dropping in and receiving the ball and creating that time and space for himself. I was really, really impressed. And as the classic Lee Clark goes, long may it continue, obviously.
There's actually an argument as well that I'm just looking at some of the stats again now. There's actually an argument that he brought the best out of Yates as well.
He did,
I know Yates had the moment where obviously Diaz nearly cut in, but I mean, you look at his overall play, 90% of his 20 passes for Yates, and Ward-Prowse made 81% of his 38 passes. So, yeah, maybe there's an element that his experience can help Yates along. If that's going to become the partnership in midfield with Sangare out injured, maybe there's an argument that he's the player that we've needed for months and months to help take Yates to that next level that some supporters are convinced that, you know, he should be at in the future. So, yeah, I mean, it's so far so good from Ward-Prowse's perspective.
Maybe it'll have the Jimmy Garner effect on him.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
I think another thing as well to consider is like this. I think Gary Birtles actually said it on Forest Focus with meaning about the back four, but then you've got the two in front when that could be a combination of Sangare, Ward-Prowse, Sangare, Yates, Anderson in there, obviously, who's had a good start as well. Like it might really unleash the more skill set of Morgan Gibbs-White, because he's not having to then help out. There's not that like kind of thinking in the back of his head like I need to help my midfield two out. He actually maybe like gets that bit more of a license to go and do what he needs to go and do what we want him to do, and let's pick up the ball in like good areas of the pitch and hurt the other team really.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at the amount of chances we have created this season, to be fair. Obviously, Gibbs-White's created more open play chances than anyone in the league. So, yeah, I think Nuno's, well aware of that he wants to get more attacking players in that final third of the pitch. And by nailing the midfield right, you're going to give those players a license to do what they can. I mean, I think we're still in the top three in the division for shots. Is it shots on target or shots at goal? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we're quite high in those stats, certainly higher than we were last season when Nuno was kind of still striving for that winning formula.
Well, that the organisation, we're third overall for XG conceded, which is an unbelievable stat. That's from the other 14 on Twitter. If anyone doesn't follow that, brilliant work over there. But this is my team, Lee. So I'll read it out for the audio listeners. Feel free to ask me some questions in a moment. So I've gone 4-2-3-1, and I've been a little bit harsh and maybe a bit ruthless, and people might think I've got an agenda. I haven't. It's just I think we're playing a certain opposition, and I just think that we might go for it a bit more. So I've got Matt Sells in goal, Ola Reina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno at the back, Elliot Anderson partnering James Ward-Prowse in central midfield, Anthony Elanga, Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi behind Taiwo Awoniyi. I've been harshing a bit on Yates, and I expect some flack, but it's not that at all. I've just got a different thinking, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's harsh. I think it's one of those, isn't it? I think we all alluded to it in our WhatsApp group, didn't we? I think if Sangare had played as well as Yates at the weekend, but still made that mistake, everyone would talk about the mistake. I just, there is still a minor concern because of that mistake. Maybe, I don't know, but on another day, that is 1-0 down, isn't it? The only question I would have with that is, I've got two actually.
Go on.
I don't know. Is it just a little bit too
offensive?
Attack it. Yeah, I don't know if it's just. Again, maybe I'm worrying more about what Brighton are going to do, but I just think with both Elanga and Hudson-Odoi coming in, is your thought process get the first goal and then take it from there, sort of thing?
Quite possibly. And I thought I had a debate actually whether to start Elanga or Jota Silva, because I just think Jota Silva, what he's shown in the glimpses of, he can work back and he can get forward as well, and he's a bit ratty and I quite like it. I mean, the little nutmeg on Gravenberch then get him a yellow card was magnificent. I think everyone's talked about his leap against Virgil van Dijk to win the flick on, and I just think maybe like players are actually starting to be aware of that. We've got that in our locker, and like I like that Elanga gambled on that. He's like he already knew that Jota Silva could actually go and win that header. Like normally we don't really gamble on those sort of things, and like weirdly I don't understand why, especially when like Morgan goes up for headers, because he's got a good leap on him himself. So yeah, I've kind of thought, do you know what, bugger it, let's go after Brighton, and they play the high line like Joe said on the preview when I spoke to him for the opposition. I just kind of think that threat in behind, we might be able to get right a little bit more than Man United did, weirdly enough. I just think that's what we did. And I just thought Awoniyi against Lewis Dunk or Van Hecke might give him a lot of problems. He's a little bit faster. Maybe he just needs that bit more fitness. And I just kind of think like, Taiwo, you go give us 55 minutes, go and blow your gasket out almost. And then we've got like Chris Wood to bring on, or Elanga or Jota Silva in that sense.
At this moment right now, if Awoniyi gets a really good chance to score, would you back him to score it? In a game like against a team like Brighton, where the chances might come few and far between.
It depends if he's got time to think about it or not. Yeah, why not? Like, do you know what? Like he came out, he came back last season where he not played for a while, been injured, come back against Arsenal, got one chance, bang. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was a good goal as well. Like he rolled Saliba like it was nothing, and then just whacked it in. So yeah, why not?
The more I think about it, actually, perhaps an away game would be possibly the time to give Awoniyi a go from the start, because I've probably just talked myself into it by mentioning the fans. I think there is an element that at home, you know, the odd mistake will still be met with the moans and the groans sometimes. I mean, whether that changes after this Liverpool win, I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out when we play Fulham next week. But yeah, maybe a game where you can have, let's face it, Sunday 2:00. The people there are going to be the hardest of hard Forest supporters, aren't they? Who are going to sing for 90 minutes, cheer everything, and hope to come back with some points. So yeah, maybe it wouldn't be the worst game in the world to give him a go from the start.
I think my only, like, because the dilemma I was having fighting amongst myself in a phone box kind of situation was because I've dropped Ryan Yates and I thought he was magnificent on Saturday. I really do. So maybe it is the case of like you play Anderson out wide and one of Hudson-Odoi or Elanga. And I just kind of thought like Brighton's lineup has been a little bit weird. Like Estupinian's not been playing. They've still been playing Hinshelwood at the back, and it's kind of like which winger do you back to go against him? And like Hudson-Odoi being very, very tricky. Obviously, Elanga's got his pace, so it's a difficult one for Nuno. I don't think it will matter to us too much as long as you've got that option to kind of go and change your game. And I think that's what we've got now. I saw Ben Foster on his podcast say, like, someone said that Forest lack depth. I really don't think we do this season. Even with the two injuries we've got now in Sangare and Danilo, in central midfield, we've still got four very capable players to pick from. Yeah,
I mean, Ben Foster's flip-flopped quite a lot since the start of the season.
Oh, he hates us.
He's had us going down, and then this week he said we could finish anywhere between 9th and 14th. And a Wolves fan actually went even further and said if Nuno gets it right, they could finish in the top 8. To which Foster offered him £100 charity bet, and he said no thanks. But yeah, he has flip flopped a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I just think I know the idea of going and being on the front foot is a really romantic and nice idea, but I just think I think we need Yates in there this week. I think we need that little physical presence. If it's not even a physical presence for Yates, is it? What, like someone who's going to rat about, someone who's going to be a bit of a nuisance, just make things a little bit awkward for them. I think Brighton's new manager still wants them to play nice football, and I think the way to disrupt that is by putting someone like Yates in there for me.
Yeah, I mean, with Brighton, I think it's a difficult one because I'll just bring up their team actually, not on the screen. I'll read it out to you because it is it's an interesting one because they've not really played with a natural striker. They've been flittering between like Welbeck, João Pedro, and what have you. So against Brighton, they played this team, which I will read out. So they had Bart Verbruggen in goal, Veltman, Van Hecke, Dunk, Hinshelwood at the back, Minter, Belieber, Aria, Mitoma, Rutter, and Welbeck. So it's kind of like it seems like a very fluid kind of team. You'll get players running in all sorts of different channels and operating that central striker role. So we're gonna have to kind of be very on it to kind of stop them. But I don't look at their team and go, "Oh, I really worry about them," other than maybe like a Mitoma or Minter. But our fullbacks nullified all of Liverpool's threat, and I kind of just go, "Well, bring it on."
Yeah, I just did that sort of team, aren't they? I mean, you look at the stats from the Ipswich game as well. 69% possession, and they made 570 passes, which was actually almost double the amount that Ipswich made. So you know, they could be the sort of side that if we play like we did against Liverpool, maybe we don't even need to do it for an hour. Will Nuno roll the dice if it's goalless at half time? I guess we'll see. But no, on the basis that they're not, like you say, with Liverpool, that you'd expect them to have chance after chance. Maybe they are going to be the sort of team that are a little bit more pragmatic, and maybe Nuno will see it as a chance to go back to 4-2-3-1 with the two attacking wingers and try and win it from the outset. But all good headaches for him to have, I guess.
Yeah, I think what I will say about Brighton is their bench is really strong. Adingra, Enciso, Stupinian, Ferguson, Kadioglu. Four out of them 5 players I just mentioned came on against Ipswich. And I mean, I'm wondering if, like, you look at that performance we had against Liverpool and do Brighton go, well, do you know what? We'll start Evan Ferguson because then we've got that option to like hit that long diag and him challenge with Milenkovic or Murillo. I'd assume he'd go on a Murillo because he's a little bit smaller and win the ball maybe higher up the pitch for him. But yeah, I also know that managers who like possession are also very, very stubborn and don't want to give up the ball that easily and let us have a chance of a 50-50 and we win the ball back and get on the counter because I think we're in the top 15 or top 10 at least of XG on the counter attack. We're one of the best sides in Europe with it. So that's also a big, massive threat for every team in the league, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, it's just nice to be going into a game still unbeaten, with confidence sky high, and it just, I don't know. I always find it remarkable about this league because one win against a team that you're not really expected to win, and the whole mindset of how the season might pan out changes. And I know that doesn't really tie in with not getting too high with the highs and too low with the lows, but it's just so much. It's just nice to see this recruitment model that we had, that we're still not getting much credit for, by the way, from outsiders. I don't know, after 4 games, it already looks like it's bearing some fruit. So, yeah, I think that's good to see. I just don't anticipate that. I think there'll be a game plan for every single opponent this year, and that can only be a good thing, really.
I mean, Sky they're gonna hate it because they're gonna be like, well, it's Sky Super Sunday, it's Brighton v Forest, 6th v 7th. They're both European chasing teams. I mean, imagine if they mentioned that'd actually make me laugh. But yeah, tough game. I'm excited for it. I'm obviously making the trip there, so I'm one of the ardent fans. I feel sorry for whoever's standing next to me because I will shout all game. Like, why not? I'm paying me money to shout all game. I did against Liverpool. Reece probably got an earful. He did elbow him in the head, Lee. I don't know if you know this in the celebrations.
No. All right.
Glasses flew off. He elbowed me in the head by accident. It was carnage, but I expect nothing less, to be honest.
That photo of Christian's very good. I didn't see the answer. Someone actually said, was that the shirt we wore when we won there in 1969 that he had on? I'm not sure if it was, but if anyone knows, let us know.
I know, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, fantastic. Let's get carried away. Why not? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't get carried away very often, so it's a good time. What are your score predictions for the game?
Do you know what? I think it's going to be a draw. I do think this will be another draw. I think it'll be a score draw, and I think it'll be an entertaining one. I'll go for 2-2.
I think I said 2-2, so I'd actually take that personally. Like, you'd still look at our start, go 9 points from 5.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I've got no real reasoning. I think it would be. I don't know. I don't want this to sound like a negative, but I think Nuno will be completely aware that after this we've got a really winnable home game, and that's nothing against Fulham because it'll be a tough game. But I just think he will understand the importance of maybe not losing this one more than trying to win it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Also, how many boiled eggs of the 1,000 do you think Callum Hudson-Odoi has eaten since? I don't know where that's come from, but those dressing room scenes are absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. How many can you get? Well, you can't really have more than 10 a day, can you? I mean, some of these bodybuilders, they can plough 10 off for breakfast, can't they? But I suppose as an athlete who needs to move rather than just look really muscly, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, you put me on the spot. I don't know what is a reasonable. I mean, if I'm going to have boiled eggs for breakfast, I have 3 at the most. I mean, I don't know. As a professional athlete, I'm sure you could probably get through 6 or 7. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll let Rainer just providing content for all that we can all enjoy. It's just so funny. Like, them 3, like, I don't know what's wrong with them, but yeah, fair enough. As long as they're keeping the spirits high, I guess. You need them type of people, don't you? Like Jesse Lingard was that guy in the first season. Now we've got Rainer, and it's he's replaced him well and truly, I think.
Yeah, and the beauty of nothing against Lingard, but the beauty of Rainer is he's not costing us about 120 grand a week, I suppose, is he as well?
And he looks a far better player. I'm not going to lie.
On the pitch, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Lee, thank you very much for joining us. I think you'll be in attendance for the review on Monday, I'm assuming, after the Brighton game.
Yes, I believe I will be.
Yeah, so we'll see you then. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I do apologize for my camera. It looks like I'm in the Matrix or something, like slow moving and everything online if you're watching on YouTube. But drop us a like, subscribe. It's free. We're not asking for anything in particular, but just some support would be nice. We're gaining some traction over there on YouTube. It's over 1,000 subscribers. We're not far from 5,000 followers on Twitter. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, do follow us. We post loads of old clips and bits and bobs, and it's all good fun over there on Twitter. So yeah, do follow us, do drop us a like, subscribe, obviously, like I just said. We'll see you in the next one when we review hopefully another win. We might be in the Champions League qualification places by that time, but what we can dream. But let's not get too carried away. But everyone keep giving stick to your Liverpool fan mates, and we'll see you on Monday for the review. And yeah, come on, you Reds.